Experience the evolution of accuracy with the new Browning X-Bolt 2. Guys, this rifle is something else. With the introduction of the X-Bolt, Browning has set a new standard in the development of bolt-action rifles. It was created around the goal of total accuracy, where every component worked in unison to improve downrange performance straight out of the box, from windswept tundras to rocky peaks high above the tree line to African plains and everywhere in between. The X-Bolt delivered the tack-driving accuracy a Browning rifle is respected for. And that's super true, guys. I really like this rifle from a standpoint of, like, it's not super heavy, it's not super light. I put a really nice scope on it. I love that Veritech stock because that is like one of those pieces of accuracy that, that interface between the rifle and the shooter. Not everybody's the same size. The DLX trigger, you can get the plus magazine system for extra rounds. Great all-around rifle in the field. For those of you that are looking for a rifle this year to take to the field that you can feel real confident in and get really comfortable with, this is the rifle to check out. The Browning X-Bolt 2 should be one of your top contenders. Link is in the show notes. This whole dive into copper bullets has been fascinating for me, and you guys should check it out. Go to barnesbullets.com and have a look at the website and check out these bullets. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I've found with them. But what they talk about is, like since 1989, they've been engineering the most technologically advanced hunting bullets and ammunition on the planet. And the more I shoot these suckers, the more I tend to believe it. They're manufactured here in the USA. In fact, their facility is down by my dad's ranch in central Utah. And what I've found is they really do create a little bit better penetration. They expand on impact, so the blood trails are quite a bit larger, and they do a little bit more damage, putting that animal down a little, faster. It's a way. In fact, on their website it says produce massive wound channels even in dense, thick-skinned game, and that is true. I found that to be true for sure. Check them out, and check out the episode I did with Barnes. So it's 191 with Mitch Cookson, and he gets into great detail about how these bullets are designed and why they're better. Definitely worth some consideration. Go to barnesbullets.com, have a look for yourself, make a decision, let me know what you think. See ya. There exists a threat, from anti-hunting groups to politicians trying to give our land away, and we won't stand for it. Those vast western landscapes provide the space for our wildlife to thrive, and a place for hunters and anglers to fuel the fire that sparks their soul. In this show, we share our love of hunting, fishing, and conservation. Here, we provide the foundation to meet these threats through passion and the grit of the American outdoorsman. Welcome to the Western Huntsman podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Western Huntsman podcast. This is Jim Huntsman, your host, coming at you, not from the Broken Time studio. I almost said it. I'm actually coming at you from elk camp here. Disclaimer on this recording, I'm using this Starlink internet, and it's usually really good, but we're kind of camped in some darker, thicker timber, and so it's getting a little obstructed. So if this episode cuts in and out, guys, I apologize, but we're gonna try to do it. I've got Justin Ward and Blake Cannon on the line here, and they are with. How do you say that? Is it HornScore? HornScore. Yep. So it's an app, and I'm pretty excited about it. And we're gonna dive into it. And I'd like to get these guys to just kind of give us a quick snap, real quick. Justin, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm in Southern Idaho, born and raised here. I kind of so the way this whole app began, I mean, I've always been interested in hunting and field judging, but about 3-4 years ago, my son drew a once in a lifetime moose tag. And so we of course wanted to make the most of it and just really learn how to field judge moose. And as I went through that process, I'm like, man, there is such little out there. I mean, you can look up certain articles and there's some videos, but it's just kind of all over the place. And it's just super frustrating to me. So I'm like, man, it would be awesome if there was just a resource where you could have all the field judging information in one place and all the tools in one place. I think it would just help everybody. Because I mean, I've always just loved that part of hunting, to looking over a lot of animals, just really breaking them down. You know, that's the fun part. I mean, the actual kill is a very small percentage of the fun for me. The getting out there, just checking them out and picking which one you want and trying to find them is cool. So that's how it all started. And then I just kind of built this, and it's growing into way more than I thought it ever would. It's pretty exciting. We'll go over a lot of that today, but yeah, I'll let kind of Blake introduce himself.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so Blake Cannon here. My background, I've been hunting since I was a kid, and I had to take a little gap in my hunting career because I went and played professional golf after college for about 5 years because I was a golfer in a previous life. But now I do a little bit of outfitting. I've done a bunch of stuff with Jay's operation. And when they reached out to me and said, asked if I wanted to come on this project, me personally, I'm an absolute coos nut. Like, I love coos deer. If you told me I could chase one animal for the rest of my life, that's what I would choose. And so my passion for field judging kind of originated there. And I would find myself picking the brain of guys like Jay, especially in my younger, earlier career of chasing coos deer. And the reason I was so interested in this project is because Jay had put out so much content on coos deer, but it was really hard to ever take all that information, especially when you're learning, and actually apply it in the field. So, kind of furthering Justin's point, even the animals like mule deer, elk, whitetail, where there maybe is some more information, it's still really hard to actually go and apply that because field judging has a high barrier to entry for most hunters. And so the primary objective with the app, when I came on, I was like, I want everybody to be able to go out and field judge with confidence, while also still providing tools and features to the most advanced hunters, outfitters who have been doing it a long, long time. So that's why, when I kind of was first brought on, I came in from a frame of mind of, this is going to be awesome. There's nothing out there that satisfied that need. And, we can dive into more of the whys behind the app in terms of, what long-term, what our objectives are, et cetera. But that's kind of my background. I do a little bit of guiding down in Mexico, coos deer, mule deer, turkeys, et cetera. I don't do any guiding in the States. That's all just personal hunting. So that's my backstory a little bit.
What's exciting about this app is, first of all, people don't know how to kind of offhand score, and they have we're hunters, fishermen. We let's face it, we have a tendency to exaggerate, right? A little bit. And sure. So I'll take like a trail cam, send it to a buddy or something, and they're like, wow, that's like a 350. No, it's like a 250. And so walk us through kind of how this app works, and it's the objective. If somebody gets this app, what are they going to be able to do with it essentially?
Sure. That's a complex question because the app has a lot of facets to it. But what we wanted to do when we built the app was we wanted for sure to have really, really good rock solid education for every species. So that's one of the premises of the app is for every species, there's education on how to field judge, how to score. Moving on, there's features and tools that are going to help you field judge. But before I dive too much into it, the way that I try and explain this to people is what you just said. People are highly unreliable when they just throw out a guess. And especially with your own personal animals, I think hunters tend to exaggerate because there's the mindset of like, ooh, this is the biggest buck I've seen on the hunt. It's got to be a giant, So you want to make something that it's not necessary. That's how most hunters tend to operate because you get excited, and that's a good thing. But just throwing out an air judge, especially if you don't have a ton of experience, because most guys don't get to spend 30, 40, 50 days in the field. And when you just throw out a guess, I always equate it to trying to solve a formula without knowing what, the variables that go into that formula. So the main premise of the app, and there's a bunch of different tools and features that aid you in doing this, but it's to learn how to actually break down an animal and go measurement by measurement. So there's built into the app, there's, you can load any type of media, trail cam, digiscope videos, etc. And then there's a place where you can actually punch your numbers into the calculator, and we're always leveraging anatomical references. So anatomical references are the basis for accurate field judging because you can't look at any individual measurement and break it down without some sort of scale. So most people, when they look at an antler, they're not leveraging a scale to actually estimate each measurement. So once you get into the app, what it allows you to do between a tool we call the estimator tool, which we can dive more into, and we have some more features coming in the next couple of weeks we can touch on. But what it allows you to do is break down each and every measurement, utilizing anatomical references. Then you're actually getting all the variables that go into that formula. And the real key to this, I think, that people miss is that you don't always have time to do this, right? If you're archery elk hunting and a bull comes walking through the trees, you don't have time to take a video, punch in your numbers. But having done that will develop a skill set that will apply in, you know, every hunting circumstance that you go into. Like if I take a guy on a coos deer hunt, I'm very confident that my air judge guess, if he's not an experienced coos deer hunter, more times than not is going to be much better than the guy who's just showing up to hunt with me, because he hasn't gone through the process of breaking those animals down. So the app, in a sense, yes, it's a tool that you can use physically while you're hunting, offline when you do have some time, but also the app is based around learning the foundations that the best guides, outfitters, hunters have been using for 30 years, so that you can start to you can start to, you know, speed up your learning curve and not need that 25 years of experience to have these skill sets. Because we don't want hunters just to have a woo-woo magic tool. We want them to actually develop a skill set. Doesn't mean we don't have great features that are going to make it way easier than it has been in the past, but there's still a skill set and we want guys to develop that. But we've tried to lower the barrier to entry to that.
Gotcha. I like it, and I think it's important that we touch on, you know, a lot. I don't know, the last several years, there's been a lot of chatter about, you know, oh, I don't care about score. I only use it as a reference and blah, blah, blah. Man, I have yet to meet a hunter that at some point does not reference score. And I think, you know, when you do this thing, this whole hunting thing, you know, especially when you're way into it, like the three of us are, you know, you've got to have some kind of reference point. And so I think that a lot of times, you know, like for me, I guess I'll speak for me personally. I don't like have a bull coming in and look at it and think, oh man, that's like a 273 or a 321 or something like that. I think that being able to score an animal is more important to hunters than they give it credit. And everybody wants to be able to do it. And like, you know, when you go to like I don't know, I can't remember which banquet does. It's probably RMEF. They you know, they put on their banquet, and one of the competitions is, you know, guess this score on this animal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the longest line at the banquet. Everybody's writing their guess in.
Yeah.
And by the way, I won a rifle doing that one time.
Damn.
And it was a total guess too. I had no idea how to score that. It was a big mule deer. I think that must have been the Mule Deer Foundation or something. But anyway, what do you guys say to that? Because
that's honestly, I mean, that's a good point, Jim, because honestly, that's what most people do, right? When they, you know, Jay does all those guess the scores on his Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
And I bet you 95% of them are that, just a total guess, because it's intimidating. It's like a foreign language to most people. I mean, if you ask 10 of your buddies, like, what's the score? They'd give you a number, but then you ask them like, okay, what are the numbers that got you to that score? Like what even, if you ask them how to score, I bet most don't know, because it's always been, like Blake said, a huge barrier to entry. It's just hard to learn because the resources just weren't there. So our goal is to make this very doable for the beginner hunter even, right? Because that's, I think, why most people don't do it, just because they don't know how. And now that we're providing a way for them to know how, I think it's just another aspect of hunting that people will just eat up. I mean, it's super fun to know how to break one down and know what you're looking at.
It is. It's way fun.
I could make a whole podcast out of it, in terms of score and how people perceive it, how hunters perceive it. And the number one thing is I think score's been bastardized a little bit. Jim, can you hear me? Yeah, there you are. Perfect.
Yeah, there we are.
So the one thing I think score has been bastardized within the hunting community in a way that it shouldn't be. And, you know, because we're not saying that score determines the value of that animal. We're certainly not making that claim. We never would make that claim. The one thing I want to point out is, like, into our app, we care just as much about small, medium, and large animals. We are not just a big animal app. And I think that, you know, a lot of people will talk about, like, something we've been discussing, a lot of people just want a good representative of that species. But what is a good representative of that species? Well, generally a good representative comes out to some form of a score, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean it's a 200-inch mule deer. It might be a 160. It might be a 170. That's also a relative thing, depending on the who the hunter is, you know, where they're at in their hunting journey, as well as the area that they're hunting. So we don't want people to perceive our app as just score as only being we're looking for trophy animals. We truly do care about the anatomical values and all the measurements. And we want to know every piece of data for every size animal, not just big animals. So I think that, like, I always give this reference a lot. I'm someone who goes on a lot of hunts where a 160-inch buck or 170-inch buck is a great buck. And I'm using the app to try and find that, because that's a good representative of the place that I'm hunting. But if you go to the Arizona Strip, like, people don't even pull their binoculars out of their harness if they see a 170-inch buck. So it's all relative. And I perceive score as, like, if a guy's buck weighs 30 pounds more, does that mean the buck that weighs 30 pounds less is worth less? No, of course not. It's just a descriptive value, and it's a great tool for hunters to be able to learn and break down. And honestly, I think it's a good thing for conservation, because I think it stops a lot of guys from shooting 2-year-old bucks, etc. once you start to learn. Because I think there's a lot of people out there who, might think a 2-year-old 135-inch buck is a quote unquote good representative, which I'm not. I don't care what anybody shoots. I've shot spikes. I've shot everything down the line throughout my hunting career, right? Because for me, it's a lot of the field judging and breaking animals down is the challenge. Like, I want a challenge. And I think the longer you hunt, the higher you want to raise the bar for yourself in terms of what you want to pursue. But that, like I said, it's still all relative to the area that you're hunting. So when it comes to score, I don't come at it from a, one score means more than the other. It's part of like a benchmark. One question that you see on a lot of forums is, hey, I'm going to hunt this place. What should I hold out for? Well, the answer you're going to get is a 170 buck, a 180 buck if it's mule deer, or it could be a 270 bull or a 300-inch bull. But how do you know what that thing is if you don't know how to break down an animal and actually field judge it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that people are hesitant to do it anyway, because especially like on, social media, I'm always nervous about, like, when Jay Scott, he'll post up, guess the score. I'm not doing that. Somebody's going to make fun of me because I'm going to be so off. And, I have to put a tape to it to even get close. And even then that's still questionable. So how does it work? Is it like you could take a picture of an animal and load it in the app? Because I just got the app, and because I've been up at elk camp, I haven't actually tried it. Is it like, do you have to manually put in, like, draw the antler along or whatever? I don't know if I'm making sense, but how does the app work?
Yeah, so there's this is another thing. There's multiple ways for this to work. We have a lot of different tools built into the product that are going to help you. So the old school method of field judging, right? So just take a bull elk because you're up in elk camp, is you're going to leverage anatomical references and you're going to compare them to the score. So if you take the fronts on a bull elk, for example, guys are going to use the front of the eye to the tip of nose, which is roughly 12.5 inches on average. And then you have the nose to the burr of the antler. That's about 16 inches, 16.5. Generally, what you would do is you would look at that value and you start to make comparisons, and then you make compensations in your head for how much curvature.
Hey, Blake.
Uh-huh.
Hey, will you start that kind of you cut out right when you started explaining how you take the fronts, and then I lost you after that.
Yep. So just using, a bull elk in this example, the old school method, right, is you take an anatomical reference, a known value, and you compare that to each measurement. So in the case of, the fronts on a bull, the P1 and P2, as we call it, we can get into that later, but you take that known measurement. So an eye to nose is 12.5 inches on average. A nose to the burr of the antler is 16 inches. Now you have a known scale. So in our app, we have full tables of every anatomical value you're going to need for a bull elk. And of course, this is one of the many species that we have. So you have a full table. They're all customizable so that you can adjust based on the region that you're hunting, because body size changes. A Montana bull in a lot of circumstances is a different body size than an Arizona bull. So all these values are customizable. And then we do have a tool called the estimator tool, which allows you to actually draw a line on an anatomical reference. And then, so that sets your scale. Then you can go draw scoreable measurements. So take the fourth, the fifth, the main beam, and get estimations. We also have a new tool that's in the works that should be released within a couple of weeks called the line reference tool. And this one's going to work a little bit simpler. So the estimator tool is a great technology, but it takes a little bit longer to learn because it's slightly more complex. So we're developing out another tool called the line reference tool, which will be a very simplistic. It'll allow you take a mule deer, for example. You'll be able to draw a line on a mule deer's ear, and then you'll be able to play your video and spin that line around, because just kind of jumping around here a little bit. But if you take a mule deer, what a lot of guys do is they look at the ear. It's a 10-inch ear. You take that 10-inch ear in your mind and you move it up. You compare it to the second. See if it's 2 ear lengths. That would be a 20-inch second. Take it to the third and see if that's a 10-inch third. Take it to the fourth, etc. Now you'll actually move that ear length up, have a visual reference, as well as we have the estimator tool, which will actually spit out estimations and allow you to capture curved tines better than this tool will be. So there's a lot of different ways. You kind of have the old school, use your eye. You have the estimator tool, and then you'll also have this new line reference tool. And then the final thing that I'll touch on is we are actively developing AI, because I'm just going to get ahead of this question because we always get asked it, right? Does AI, you know, will it field judge my buck? Can I plug in a photo and it's going to spit it out? And the answer is no, not right now. We have a whole team developing it, and we're trying to build out an AI technology that will actually work, because what's currently available isn't very good. We consider precision and accuracy, at least to some relative scale, some margin of error, to be important, because that's the point of field judging. The AI, I always equate it to having, like, right, the way it sits right now, like having a math professor sitting next to me on a hill looking at a bull, and he may be really good at math, but he doesn't know very much about elk. So I'm going to get really bad estimations. Sometimes I'll get good ones, but we are currently building and spending a lot of time and investing a lot of our time into, you know, creating something that will provide value to our users. But even once that's out, the old school foundational methods that we've put into the app will still have a lot of value, because AI won't do you any good when a bull elk's walking through the trees, when you have 5 seconds to decide whether or not to shoot that mule deer on your once in a lifetime tag, and you're wanting to know if that buck's 200 or whatever the circumstance would be.
You know, back in the old days, there was this program called Layaway, where you can go into like a store and start making payments on something, some high dollar ticket item, and once you paid that off every month, it was yours. You could take it home. That's how I bought my first deer rifle from the Marine Corps PX on Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, and it was the first, you know, weapon that I bought that I purchased myself. It wasn't a hand-me-down, it wasn't my dad's, it wasn't anything like that. So I went and I picked out this 30-06, and I just didn't have a lot of money, and so I did the layaway program, but I needed a scope on it, and the cheaper scopes were all sold out, and so I bumped up to like this entry-level loophole scope and put that on the layaway program, and had them all, you know, put the whole package together for me and all that. Made the payments and finally got to bring it home. Ever since then, almost every rifle I've owned has had a loophole scope. In fact, I'm having a custom rifle built this year, and it's going to have the loophole Mark 5 HD scope on it. I just killed a buffalo with that scope. It's a really great product. And loophole guys, you know them. Everybody knows loophole. They've been around since like 1907. They started as like a special instrument company or something like that. But these American-made products are fantastic. Whether you're looking for a spotter, binos, a rifle scope, accessories, tripods, bipods, all that kind of stuff, you can find it all at loophole.com. And I'd really appreciate if you supported this American company that has a great American story. And I couldn't be a bigger fan of a company, and I'm so happy and thrilled that they've chosen to partner with the Western Huntsman. Thanks to Leupold, and thanks to you guys for supporting our great sponsors.
No, I love it. I love this idea. I think it's good for, I mean, again, I think that hunters, they put a lot more stock into scoring animals than they like to give it credit for, and it's because, you know, I don't know why it became uncool to know how to score an animal, you know, and how that even came about. But it kind of, like you were saying earlier, Blake, you know, it's been kind of bastardized. But this will be really helpful for like me and the other guides at the outfitter, especially because that's one of the big, you know, we get clients that come in, you know, and this is their first hunt in Montana, and they're like, you know, what can we expect? And sometimes, you know, I can hear guides out there going, well, this is, you know, we're going to find some 300s, we're going to find some 350s. And it's like, you know, we have them, but like, let's not say that, right? I mean, because there's not a lot of them, and they're out there. And I've got a couple of them on camera, but I want to actually plug in some of these bulls I've got on camera and start, you know, guessing the score. I think that's because then we can give like real information to people coming in. And so,
and I think it's super cool. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I think a super cool thing for you as a guide and outfitter working with your other guides, like there's awesome collaboration features in there. So say you got a video of a bull, you can put it in the app, download it, put your guesses in there, and you can actually share it with your fellow guides and be like, check this out. What do you think it is? And they can actually rescore it from your score, and you guys can all share it around. It's all built in. There's a really cool public side of it too, where you can just share to your buddies so no one else can see it, but you can also share it to the whole community if you want. If it's one that's been killed and you have video, just so other people can learn what a 350 bull looks like. So that's a whole nother section of that that's awesome, is the whole collaboration features within it.
Oh, so it's like you almost have, it's almost like its own social media in a way, right?
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I see. I didn't know that. Again, once you have the app, there's like a pay feature, right? To access the tools that actually give you the scoring and teach you how to do that. Is it like pretty user friendly once you get into that? And is there videos in there to help kind of show you how it works, or how do you learn how to do this?
Yeah. So there's a lot of education built into the app. There's help screens throughout. To answer your question about the paid, the app is an annual subscription, $49.99. Every person who signs up gets access to a 2-week free trial. So anybody who wants to try it, you could literally try the app for the entirety of a hunt if you wanted to. So everybody can get on and try the app out for free. The education built into the app in terms of actual field judging and scoring, there's already a bunch of content, and we're continuing to add more content. And we also have help screens built throughout the app, walking you through each segment. Certainly it takes a little bit of time but really you can get on and start field judging something, extremely quickly. The other thing I wanted to touch on that, Justin was kind of getting into, so the app has sharing. You also have really good organization. So another thing that guys are going to value is your own scores that you're creating. Let's say you want to go back and look at a buck or bull 5 years later. You can filter through all your own scores by labels or folders. They're called labels, but it's a foldering system. And then you also have in our public scores, which is our social network. And just to be clear, you have full control over what you share, meaning you don't have to share any score publicly. It's entirely up to you. You can also control how much of the location you share, how specific of a location. You can control which media files you share. But there's two things with the public scores that are really neat. The one thing is, back in the old days, guys would collect magazines to go look at bucks shot in the Beaver Unit in Utah or the Strip in Arizona. Well, we want to build a database where guys can go look through, regionally look through animals based on counties, et cetera. But also, a lot of times guys, well, what does a 320-inch bull look like? And a lot of times, like you said, guys are really wrong. So now you're going to have a resource where you can filter. I want to look at bull elk from 300 to 320, and you can go see 50, 100, eventually 500 different bulls in that range, and also be able to, if it's a field judge score, then you'll be able to go rescore that guy's animal for him or take a guess or see a harvested bull. Because the one thing within the app, there's either a field judge or harvest. Obviously, field judge is for animals you're evaluating that are alive and on the hoof, and then harvest is your more traditional taping the bull or buck or ram or whatever it is once you've actually harvested that animal. But there's tons of education, help pages, et cetera, to hopefully speed up the learning curve for guys.
Okay. Well, that's good to know, because what I keep thinking about with this app is it's like, this is just another way for guys like me to be able to geek out with hunting, because I'm getting trail cam pictures year round, or I'm out scouting or whatever. And you can, or even, can you take like a shed antler and score it?
Yeah,
can you?
Absolutely. And like,
sweet.
In your circumstance, imagine, you have consistent trail cam locations. Imagine having every bull or buck from that trail cam with a label. So in 10 years, I want to go see every buck that I've gotten off of this trail cam location or off of this tank or water hole, or whatever it is, and have all those things organized and be able to track trends in your own area, all the animals that you're hunting. You could also track a specific bull. So maybe you've watched a bull for 3 or 4 years, you've got him named, you've got him labeled, you want to see how he progresses, be able to share that out to your other guides, et cetera. So the organization piece is another component to the app that we've worked really hard on. And that comes from, Jay really helped us refine that, because Jay's got so much content between all of his Mexico operation, the elk stuff he does in September. So being able to organize all of his scores over time was really, really critical for him.
Yeah, for sure. And Jay is he's where I learned how to call elk many years ago on like those early YouTube videos,
Oh yeah.
Sitting in that camp, making the cow sounds and whatnot. And so I think that like having with your guys' experience and with Jay involved in it, it's like it's going to have the stuff that hunters look for. I don't feel like there's going to be a lot of fluff in there. I feel like maybe we should wrap this episode up, guys. But I really want to get you back on. Like, we're just scratching the surface here, but the internet's just not cooperating for us. Where can people find the app?
They can find it on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store as well. You can also find us on Instagram at HornScore Official, and our website's hornscore.com. So you can find a bunch of different information on all those resources. But yeah, you can download it from Apple App Store, Google Play, get a 2-week free trial, test it out, look into all the different features, and keep an eye out because we do have some more features coming in the next couple of weeks that'll be released soon.
Yeah, and one thing I want to touch on too, Jim. So with that, like we talked about, there's the subscribed portion of it, but there's also tons of stuff in there in the guides that's completely free. Like, say you're going on a mountain goat hunt, you need to tell the difference between a billy and a nanny. Like, that's all within the guide in the free portion. So really, I don't see why every hunter out there wouldn't at least have the free version. I mean, I think eventually everyone will want the paid, but I mean, there's tons of just amazing free education stuff in there that every hunter will use within
like
it.
Justin touched on Billy versus Nanny, or take a guy who's going moose hunting in Alaska, needs to know what a legal bull is. There's a lot of useful information built in because we really want to be the place where all education you need, field judging and scoring is, as well as have the tools to apply all that information.
Is that in the like when I scroll down, it says recent posts? Is that like you guys posting in there, like pass or fail, estimator tool for elk?
That's additional content. So that's like just that when you start to dive into the app, there's going to be additional content for each species, but that's the general where all content posts. So as we write more articles, whether it's a sheep aging video, etc., that's where all content pops up. So all of our fresh articles and videos.
So at the bottom where you hit the guide button, is that and I actually took my phone off the internet so that maybe I'd get more little juice out of the laptop here. But is that where you're having like the instructional stuff, like the Billy versus Nanny kind of stuff?
That's all in there. And one thing you'll want to do, the cool thing is you can do it all on offline mode. So we made it because we knew a lot of hunters are going to be in your scenario, right? They're going to be out with no service. So before a hunt, you can actually go to, say, elk and download all the content so you can use it in offline mode. So next time you go out, just download whatever species you need, and then you can go in and access all of that. I mean, some of that's in there even if you haven't pre-saved it, but a lot of the pictures and stuff you'll want to save before you go out in the field. But under the guide is where all that educational content is for you.
Yeah, let's see. I can open. Oh, again, I don't have my phone on internet, so it's got a lot of really good information, like just going in and just getting those. It can actually show somebody how to tape a buck, once it's down, kind of thing.
We have a video for every species as well as text, because I'm a video guy. I know the first time I've tried to go and score something, I read an instruction sheet and I'm like, still don't know which one's which. So I always, so it was important to us to put it for scoring, to put a video in. Obviously, the app has a lot more content on the field judging side, being a subjective process, but we have really detailed information for guys who want to score. So really, like I said, anything field judging and scoring, it's going to be in the app. And we have a huge list of species too that we're working on. So, and we're going to continue to add more and more as time goes on. Yeah, I saw that you got like the coming soon Aoudad. Yeah. What else is there? Canada. Oh no, that's in progress. So all those animals, Sitka blacktail. All those animals that say coming soon are in progress are actually usable on the app right now. We just may be collecting a little better information for some of the education. Oh, gotcha. Maybe some better anatomical data points. We want to refine that a little bit to make sure the anatomicals are accurate. That's interesting too, because I wonder about like little nuances, how to score between like a Roosevelt versus a Rocky type bull. That information's going to be in there, huh? So you can kind of
and videos for all,
And to be honest, I didn't know before we got into a lot of this, but I didn't understand how crown points worked, and because I'm not a Roosevelt guy, I'm not a Roosevelt. Elk hunter. We talked to some Roosevelt guys, and so there's all those nuances, and really, the app, the tools and features are awesome, but I think the public scores, the database, the sharing, the organization, that's what I think our users, I mean, the tools are the vehicle to get you there, of course, and to make you better. But I think all that and the collaboration, because that's, like you said, it's behind a paywall. It's a safe place to go in and put guesses, rescore people's animals, and get help. I mean, a guy can post up a field judge score of a buck and ask and get a full community, get their assistance, get their support, and get help, because that's one of the best things you can do in field judging. Like I when I have a buck or something that I'm interested in and I'm not unsure of, the first thing I do is text it to 2 or 3 of my buddies and start getting their opinions, because that's the best way to get help. A lot of times, like they'll see things that you can't, and now you'll have a whole community that if you want to seek that out, you'll be able to find that and get help too.
I had to text you guys this whitetail I've got on camera. This buck,
do it.
just because it's been driving, but it's a lower quality image, and he came in at night, and so it's like, man, he just looks like a monster. But I could be totally off base. I had to text it over to you guys.
No, yeah, for sure. We're happy to break it down. That'd be cool.
Heck yeah, that'd be great, guys. What was that? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say one other thing I want users to really focus on the value of is the anatomical side too, because that's one thing a lot of people forget about when after they harvest it, because it's not really been done in the hunting industry, is measuring anatomical references in your area. So after you kill your bull or your buck, and we have it all in there where you can on your harvest score put the anatomical measurement. So you measure your own ear length, you measure your own ear width, eye to eye, nose to eye. Then you know in your region what that is. Then you are even more accurate, right? Because we have averages in there, and we know what works in our areas, but everyone's going to be a little different. So just to have that on everybody's radar, after you kill something, go in there under the harvest score. There's a little button that says anatomicals. Go in, measure those out, because that'll just help you so much in the future for future animals that you feel judged. That's a whole nother side of the app that I think will just be a huge resource, because right now it's been based off a few guys have done a couple measurements, right? It's not that accurate. So we've done a lot of that already, but the more people that do it, the better.
The more information will get loaded in there. And that's a great point, Justin, because that's something I think that people don't think about a lot. Like a mule deer in Arizona is different than a mule deer on the plains of Wyoming, for example. Right. I think it was Dr. Geist. He was talking about that. Like the plains mule deer has much bigger eyes, and they're set differently because they need to be able to see for so far versus like a high country timber buck, and so all those little things. And I imagine regionally that's going to change the ear length and the distance between the eyes and maybe the nose. I don't know. That's super interesting. And that's the kind of stuff like dudes like me like to geek out on. I love stuff like, I could just sit and play with that app like that all day long. I could pretend like I'm at work, but really I'm looking at the app.
Right.
One example, if you look in Arizona, if you go south of the Grand Canyon and then you compare those deer to the strip, the deer's ears on the strip are substantially bigger than south of the Grand Canyon. And that's something that locally I know just because I live here, but I don't know how they, what they look like in Colorado, because I've never taken the time to measure them. Of course, recently we are. So that's where the more guys that'll do that, it takes literally 2 minutes. I keep a soft cloth tape measure in my pack. And before I start taping anything, I just take my few measurements, particularly the ones that I use a lot for mule deer, elk, etc. I punch them in, and then I've got that data forever. And everybody else that I share that to has that forever. Like if in your example, if every guide measured anatomicals, you guys would be dead on. And now it can still vary somewhat animal to animal. But the other thing that we're going to find over the course of doing this for a long time is which ones actually vary a lot less. So in what I've found so far, for example, the ear width, so the top of ear to bottom of ear, tends to vary a lot less than other measurements. The eye to eye generally doesn't vary as much, but like ear lengths tend to vary some more. Face lengths on some animals vary more, but we're starting to figure all that out. And once we dial that in, it'll just make everything better. It'll feed every tool that we have. It'll improve that because guys will be working off the best data possible.
Have you guys found, like, as this app is getting a little more attention and people are getting more excited about it or whatnot, what's the feedback been like? Are guys as excited as I am about it, or have you had any like pushback and I don't need to worry about score, I'm gonna shoot a 2-point mule deer buck from my truck, what's that been like?
The feedback on the usage and the simplicity of using the app has been great. I think people have figured it out. In terms of the you can't eat the horns crowd, if you really like, my thing is, if you've never passed a buck, you probably aren't going to use the app. If you've never passed a single buck, but if you have passed a buck or a bull or whatever, then in some way, shape, or form you're looking for something. And if you want to figure out what that is that you're looking for, this app is for you. If you're trying to learn how to categorize and figure out what what you want to set your challenge up for yourself personally as a hunter, then I think you'll enjoy and appreciate and get a lot of value out of this app. And I don't want guys to pigeonhole us into just a field judging. It's just about score. Like, the app is way deeper than that. There's way more to it. But yeah, the feedback has been good. I think if I could encourage anybody listening, it's that learning how to field judge is a skill set that you should want to develop as a hunter. And most importantly, the main reason I do it is because it's fun. It adds another layer of challenge for me to the hunt. It adds one more thing that I get excited about trying to break them down. And it doesn't always mean it's a huge animal. Yeah,
exactly. I think that's, that's the thing that I think most of us love about hunting in general is there's so much to it. There's so many facets and so many interest points. And what I love about this app, what you guys were touching on earlier, is I love the idea of having multiple years of data built up in one place where I could look and be like, man, that one drainage always holds a big bull. There always tends to be bulls in there, or this drainage over here, for 5 years in a row, I've seen a 170 class mule deer buck walking around, and they're just in there, and having that kind of data in the area that I hunt and I call home, my home range, and whether it's for me or clients, and I just think that's fantastic. And at the end of the day, though, Justin and Blake, it's fun. It's going to be fun to have that, and it's kind of cool that there's like a little community built into there to share this information with people and learn from. And I think that if you're closing yourself off to it because you're a can't eat the horns crowd kind of guy or whatever, you're just really missing out on what hunting can be in terms of fulfillment, because it's more than just going out and shooting something. It's knowing these animals. It's knowing how to field judge. I mean, it's just an all-encompassing thing.
Yeah, it is.
Another thing to add to that all-encompassing lifestyle that is hunting, and it's just another tool to make us all better. And so I think it's a brilliant idea. I'll bet there's people that are listening to this that are like, man, I had an idea 5 years ago to create an app that field judges animals kind of thing. And somebody finally did it,
Yeah. And we hope to keep making it better and better and better, and just keep improving it and providing more value. And I think guys will find a lot of value in this in more ways than they're expecting, is the best way that I can say it.
Well, I hope they stuck with us throughout this whole episode to get all this information. But I do feel strongly that I'd love to get you guys back on so we can go into a little bit more detail, because we are just, we don't have great service here while we're recording here while I'm up on the mountain. But would you guys be game coming on? I don't know.
For sure. And in a couple of months, it'd be cool. And we'll have tons more features here in a couple of months even to go over. So that'd be cool. And then we'd have a lot more of just seeing what people have used it for and got more feedback. So I think it'd be cool, actually. Yeah, a couple of months, 2-3 months. And what do you think, Blake, timeline? Yeah, I think that'd probably be
great. Plus, you'll have had a chance to put it to use, Jim.
Exactly. And I think I'm not real smart, even though, I look like I am, but I'm not.
That's true.
I look dumb. And I am. But no, I think it'll be great because it'll give me to be able to ask you guys about it. We could really dive into some of the nitty gritty on this app. But I just encourage everybody listening, if you guys like the idea of being improving on your ability to field judge and know these animals a little bit better, this app is called HornScore, and you can get it on any device, right?
Yep,
any device. Cut out, Blake.
Yep, any device.
Okay. And the website hornscore.com?
Hornscore.com. Yep.
Sweet. Any last minute you want to throw in there before I push the old stop button here?
Yeah.
Let me say one thing real quick. Like, the only thing I want people to do as well is just please give us feedback, because we want this thing to be the absolute best app it can be. I mean, we've thought of a lot of stuff. We know we haven't thought of everything. So please, any bugs or any features that you want to see improve, please let us know, because I think the more people that give us feedback, the better we can make this thing. So just any feedback, please, negative, positive, whatever we can get, we want it so we can make this the best thing possible.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely building this as a community. The only other thing I'll say is everybody can do this. Everybody can get better at field judging. Will you be Jay Scott with elk? Maybe not, but I promise you can get better, and you can cut down on a lot of that experience that he's had to gain by what we've provided in this product, because, you know, a lot of the concepts have come from Jay and other guys like Jay and how they do it, and their proven methods, and they work. And, you know, everybody can get better at this depending on, and whatever their target species is, or, you know, multiple species.
You know, I think what it'll really help with, if the masses start using this, is at least getting people in the ballpark. So they're not looking at a 250 class bull and calling it a 350. And because it's not like people are just slightly off there. I see people scoring animals on the old .coms, and they're wildly off. I mean, they're so, and this is just going to help kind of bring that you know, within the realm of reality, I think, a lot better. And again, it's super enjoyable for me. So guys, I apologize for the terrible internet recording this, but at least we've got the discussion started, and we can, I'm looking forward to the next one. And I appreciate you guys coming on and doing this with me.
You made it. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you're following us on Instagram at the Western Huntsman, and write us a good review at Apple Podcasts. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you